Alright guys, so a couple things before we start this video as far as what I actually did. This refrigerator had the entire backing cut off. Someone tried to scrap it, whatever the hell they were doing, I don't know. So the compressor in it was not pressurized, and for any of you who have never done a refrigerator, the entire thing has refrigerant coolant, whatever the hell you want to call it. And if you go and you cut one of these lines in the back and you leak it all out, the EPA or whoever the hell does is going to come after you for some really nasty fines for polluting ozone. This stuff is disgusting. This is what it's like not pressurized. It's all gelled and the stuff is messy as hell. So before you start doing this, don't do it in Mom's garage. She might kill you because this shit goes everywhere. There's not really any way to avoid it. I laid it all down on this board. That way I'm not going to get this stuff on my trailer and get my trailer stained. Anyways, so the whole backing was cut off. Left it so it wasn't pressurized. Still had obviously fluids in it. Part of the video cut out as far as me cutting that compressor open. I did end up having to cut that entire compressor in half because of the way it was welded in. But most of the newer ones that I've done, I only have to cut one end out and I have to slip it out. It's usually a lot easier. That time I did have to cut it in half. Some people will just take the compressors in just by themselves. You can get money for that, but you are not going to make very much money off of it. I think you can get like 10 cents a pound or more or less depending on your state. One of the things to factor in, because of all that stuff is so messy and this copper is just saturated in this stuff, I like to put it in a bag all by itself. I do not put it with my other copper. It stays in its own bag, and as you can see, it's about half a gallon worth of copper. If you're one of those people that like to melt it all down, this would be good stuff to just melt down because it's disgusting. It's just a freaking mess, and really there's no point in cleaning it. I'll leave that up to the salvage yard. As far as wiring, there's not much wire when it comes to these refrigerators. This is about it. I will most likely end up stripping all of this down, get a couple more pounds of copper out. Now, one of the interesting things that I noticed about this refrigerator being how old it is, the entire inside was all aluminum. All this was just straight aluminum, no steel, no BS. The refrigerators I've done in the past were all plastic with aluminum tubing going through it, but all of this was straight aluminum. As you can see in the video, that's kind of the reason that I worked so hard just to get all this out. I will remember for next time that the entire back is riveted in. That is the part that I did not notice, and that's why it took me so long to try to get it out, was because I didn't see all the rivets. And I also missed undoing a couple screws, so make sure you get all the screws out and drill out the rivets. It'll make it a lot faster and a lot easier than having to cut all this out like I did. Still, at the end of the day, that's a lot of aluminum. If you're one of those people that melt it down, it's a good chunk of aluminum there. Later on, I will be getting a furnace and I will be doing some melting. The other thing, unfortunately, this was also aluminum. The lining, I thought it was going to be stainless steel, but it's all aluminum, but it's still a pretty heavy amount of aluminum. Not too bad at all. There really wasn't much copper tubing, was another thing I noticed. A lot of it was actually steel tubing. Most of the newer ones I've done is copper tubing and aluminum tubing. You can usually get a good chunk of tubing out, but this is all of the copper tubing I was actually able to get out of it. The rest of it was all steel. Another thing is, these guys right here are normally aluminum. Sometimes they have copper tubing going down the middle, but it's all aluminum blades normally, but this time it's all steel. Even the tubing, all steel, so that's going to go in the scrap metal pile. This sucks, but you know, that's part of scrapping. You never know what you're going to find. Another thing that I did end up getting from where all of the wire was actually plugged in is a bunch of brass screws and bolts. Took the magnet to them, and they are not magnetic, so we'll definitely throw these into our brass pile. But that's pretty much it. These refrigerators are a good chunk of mainly steel. The only thing that's really worth that much is that compressor, condenser, whatever it is down in there. I don't know the technical terms. I just started doing this not that long ago. It started off as recycling, just because some people were taking these things to the dump, and I didn't like that, so I offer to have people either bring them to my house, and I will cut them up and take them and get them down, melted down to scrap metal, make a couple bucks. I'm not in this for the money. It's mainly about recycling. Obviously this crap is a freaking mess, and I honestly don't like doing refrigerators, but you got to do with what you're provided. So I'll see you guys in the next video.